Everybody saying that they like my style. Wanna know how I do it? I smile. While you were out there saying hey, hi, hello, I was getting dressed up in shades of yellow.
Hello and welcome to episode 31 of the Lovely Job podcast. I'm Leah Spicer-Pownall. I'm the marketing manager of Miss Bush, and this is...
I'm Emma Marshall and I am the MD of Miss Bush, and this is...
I'm Georgia Meek. I'm Emma's daughter and more widely known as Meek because I am an artist musician.
Yay! Welcome!
Yay.
It's very exciting. Double guests in a row.
Yes, I know. Well, the thing is, in my mind, I was like, we're having guests today. We're having Joe and Adrian on, and they're going to talk really practical, useful things about fittings and sewing and the technical aspects of their job and their experience and all the things that they do, which are somewhat unsung, like, you know, maybe publicly. They're too busy doing their jobs, which is annoying. So yeah, and I was ready for a guest. I think people really liked hearing from Marshy last week, and I had a bit of a sort of woo moment. So one of my clients on Saturday was called Georgia. She's 30. She's from Surrey, lives in London, is getting married. And I was really, 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 really tired. And I was like, oh, I can't do this. I've had 2 massive days with the sale. And then on one of the days, the A3 was closed. And I had to go on through Middle Earth to actually get home. And I was like, no, this is a 30-year-old girl called Georgia. This could be your daughter. This is, you have the responsibility to go and switch it on and be lovely and look after this Georgia. So it was a really interesting reason. And I was like, oh my God, Georgia's like my target client. And I'm now not in the role of friend of bride. I'm like a sort of professional mum. So I thought it'd be good to get Georgia on.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, so still without a ring, sadly, but we've talked about it. I do have a partner. We've been together about 5 years and we own a house and a dog. So it's the next thing on the list, but I have been busy focusing on trying to be a global pop star. So the wedding is sort of like next on the list. So soon, hopefully, but not yet.
I don't know if you saw the bits I put on Instagram this morning, but I found that picture of you modelling at Great Foster's at a bridal show when you were about 2.
Yeah.
And then also another picture of you modelling in the old Miss Bush shop, that time when I had you and all the Guildford girls putting on dresses because it was a bit cheap. So you have been around bridal the whole time, so maybe it doesn't seem that exciting or to do the wedding dress part of it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think when I talk to my mates about weddings and getting married and things, they all were like that whole thing where people have a little notebook from their childhood where they're drawing themselves in their dream dress and all that stuff. I definitely never fantasized, I think, in a way that a lot of girls do, because like you said, I was basically born straight into the front door of a bridal shop. So it was I was so kind of used to being around weddings and wedding dresses and bridal stuff. Also, having said that, I'm quite an androgynous person, I'm bisexual. There's a lot also about weddings that I potentially, even if I wasn't born into the wedding industry, would maybe not be as girly girl fantasizey about anyway. So who knows, chicken or egg? But yeah, no, you definitely become a bit more kind of numb to that part of it when you're around it all your life. And also, yeah, a bridal wear model from before I could say no.
I'm sure I asked for consent. I don't know.
It's fine. I looked very cute.
Yeah, you did look adorable. I feel like that dress was totally adorable as well. It was something we used to do. This designer, Alison Blake, used to specialise in doing embroidered dresses, and so she used to draw these gorgeous things. And so that dress that I did a close up on had on the bottom of it had a scene of a little mouse wedding. So I know a little mice getting married, and obviously anthropomorphizing animals as well, which is quite weird, as well as making your daughter model.
There was also a lot of there's another picture of me somewhere in another dress, really little, with little Scotty dogs stitched on to the bottom of it. And I'm just like, there's a lot of animals being sewn onto wedding dresses and bridesmaids dresses in that era. I don't know what that, you would never now put out a bridesmaids dress with dogs sewn into the bottom of it.
I don't know. I feel like just those bridesmaids dresses were so unbelievably expensive as well. So the Alison Blake ones were lovely. I don't even know. I think we may have just borrowed those for a fashion show. But then we did the bridesmaids by, she called Nikki someone. But she did the bridesmaids for like Kate Middleton's wedding. Do you know what I mean? And she was like, so I'd buy them basically. That Georgia would have one. It was a black and white one that you had that used to just went to every birthday party for you when you were. I
remember
5.
this, and you made a matching waistcoat for my teddy bear out of the spare fabric.
Aww.
It was really cute, and I think at the time the teddy was like, Mum actually tried to give it back to me recently, and I was like, that's not the same teddy. She's like, yeah, it is. But at the time, the teddy was like almost the same size as me, so it did actually look like I was going around with my boyfriend in a matching waistcoat to the prom, but it was just a teddy.
Wait a minute, did you actually make this yourself? Did you sew?
Who, me?
No, I think Granny did.
Oh, okay. I was going to say,
Yeah.
I don't think you'd ever sew.
I feel it would have been the same back then, as like Mum would have directed the fact that she wanted a matching waistcoat.
I know what you're saying. I've seen it, so it will happen.
Yes.
Very cute though.
But so, like, one of the reasons, like, Leah was going to go, you promised to the listeners that you were going to talk about fashion. And I was like, well, Georgia is kind of like the brand ambassador, the sole brand ambassador at the moment for Nortier, which is our label that we're creating with Ben and Adrian. So there is fashion involved in that, I would say, but very theatrical. So do you want to like talk through that relationship a little bit, Georgia? A bit more directing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, like I'm in music, and the last sort of year, my career has picked up a lot, and there's been a lot of demand for these sort of press moments and like kind of visuals, just basically to launch things. I did a single just before Christmas with quite a famous DJ called Alan Walker, and we kind of used it to relaunch my project, and I sort of like, I need something for this that just looks incredible. Like, it has to be visually and fashion wise the same level that the music's at that I'm working on for the last. So there was a real need for something really larger than life. And in like, you know, and I've always done the music thing. I've always been sort of indie and run my own tours and done that kind of thing, and trying to create looks like as an indie touring artist with no budget and shop off the rack or on the high street when you're a curvy girl. You know, I'm very much take after my mum in the breast department. And like, it's not easy. And the second you kind of filter to your size online or you're in a store, the stuff that comes up is honestly like you're a 65-year-old going for an afternoon tea at Claridge's. Like, it's just, it's such a one-dimensional market for people with curves. And I'm like, this is not the kind of thing that I can wear in front of 6 cameras for this incredible shoot with this music that sounds really larger than life. Long story short, I called up I was like, who do I know that really knows clothes? I was like, oh yeah, my mum. Rang her up and she introduced me to Ben and Adrian, who run Nortier with her. And we just started talking about, like, you know, what if we just created some of these things from scratch? And my label team are very much like, we're sort of sitting in this space where it's kind of like a grungy Sia meets a bit of Freddie, meets a bit of Gaga. And so the looks just have to be huge. Anyway, we created this yellow dress for this Alan Walker single, and it just absolutely went off the chain on Instagram, and everybody was like, who's made this dress? And also they made it for me in a week, because if anybody knows anything about the music industry, it's that DJs don't respect vocalists at all, so they give you about a week's notice when something's coming out. And I was like, oh my god, I need this look, I need to turn something out right now, like literally yesterday, I need to have it. And the guys are amazing, and we just basically like sculpted this dress to fit every inch of me perfectly. It's completely couture. We had interim fittings. We did a toile, which is, I'm sure you've spoken about that on the podcast before. It's a kind of interim calico corset that they used to base the actual fabric cutting off. It just was gorgeous, honestly. And like even on the night when people were showing up to the shoot, they were like, every single person that saw me in that room was going, oh my God, just absolute showstopper of a dress. So, and that's what we've been doing sort of post that, is like creating this blazer I'm wearing, if anybody's like creeping on the video, is a Nortier. They just added these giant kind of black net wings almost to the shoulders of it. And the blazer's just from Boohoo or something, but like it's just the elevation of those looks that makes everything feel just really, really special and theatrical, and I'm obsessed. And I'm obsessed with them as well.
It is. I think they also have like they love doing their musicals and their theatre, their acting and everything like that. So I think they really relish the opportunity of going large on kind of costumes and really having a fantasy moment, So I think Ben said that he the other day, he said he realised he was gay when he went to see a Lady Gaga kind of gig. It was like,
I wonder how many people have that origin story.
I don't. I feel like I think he knew he was, but I think it's like literally classic. It was like brave enough to come out, kind of realization. But I also think it's sort of almost like going full circle for them as well. Do you know what I mean? Giving back into that kind of like queer space of like performance and pop and things like that. So I do think that they really, really will thoroughly enjoy the ride as well doing this. So and interestingly, they both like different types of the music. So I think Ben likes your vocals for DJs type of thing, whereas
he loves the EDM features. Yeah,
I think Adrian's a bit of a power ballads man. Yeah, so I feel like that is fashion, definitely. And that's definitely what we wanted to do with Nortier as well, is like I've really felt there was a missing gap in the market for just different, but not different like weird, and not different in a kind of like Southern Hemisphere version of different, which is like tassely outdoor kind of bohemia, but different as in that British tradition of punk and anarchy and theatricality and Shakespeare and Westwood and McQueen, that kind of different, not a sort of not like, oh, I had a joint once and I didn't inhale at Glastonbury, not that kind of different, like actually like really like going into that theatrical kind of tradition and that slightly rebellious tradition that we have in the UK. So that's why I feel we're never going to be really doing a sort of like bias slip dress with Nortier. I don't think any of us would have looked at it and be like, I'd maybe wear that to clean my teeth. That's it.
Yeah.
But yes, so and actually one of the things that people always ask me as well when they're like, do you have a daughter? Oh, I bet she loves this. Does she work for you, or is she gonna work for you? I was like, no. But you have
done my time. I've put in my hours.
So, like, give everybody a bit of an overview of what you've done in the bridal industry, because it's quite a lot, isn't it? When I was thinking about, were you working with Marion and Marie and all sorts of things?
Yeah, Paloma Blanca and loads of stuff. Jesus. I've done quite a lot of stints in the shop, especially like in Bush, by the way, is the shop. Especially kind of through my later teenage years. And my early 20s, when I was just sort of grafting and I was working all sorts of jobs. I think I was working at Costa during the week and then like going down on a Saturday to work at Bush and trying to do my music all in between and everywhere. And weirdly, actually, like when I used to work Saturdays, I had a bride come in who I basically took from start to end and then sort of handed her over when it came to fittings. And then a couple of years ago, my label hired her to be the new head of publishing. And I was like, I've met you before. Why do I know your name? And I couldn't work it out for ages. And I rang Emma and was like, who is this woman? She's like, Georgia, she was one of your brides. Honestly, great way to be an immediate favourite with the new head of publishing. It's such a small world, honestly. But yeah, no, I did all sorts. And I loved doing bridal appointments. That is basically all I did. I wasn't interested in anything else and used to really annoy everyone. And then I did a lot of like trade shows for different designers and a lot of that kind of industry side of sales in bridal wear as well. But I definitely liked selling to brides more, I think. Although you do get lots of free champagne at the trade show, so I was totally there for that.
I always think you were particularly good at the sample sale. You were like actually turned full market trader.
I think that's because I'm a bit rougher than everybody else in the shop. Like, I left London really, really young. I left basically the second I turned 18 and lived on the Gold Hawk Road. And now I've been in Brixton for years. And I've just always been a bit rougher. Like when we used to live in Ripley, I spent most of my time on the estate on Georgelands with like all of the BMX boys. So walking into that kind of luxury retail space for me never felt super natural. But I do like to think I'm a really good people person. So I think people still connected with me with their wedding dress appointments. And I'm really honest. So do you know what I mean? If something looks shit, I'm going to guide you away from it. But
there was definitely the like, buy it, have it. Somebody else is going to get this if you don't buy it now. The sample sales.
The sample sales were fun because it would be like a bit more competitive, I think. And also, to be fair, like I've had experiences with my friends, like my best mate's sister came into the shop years ago. Actually, she told me the other day she's been married for 10 years now. I thought, fucking hell, was the time gone? She came in and I did like a little appointment with her in the evening. And she was getting married in Vegas and she loved this dress. And she was like, oh, kind of umming and ahhing over it. And it was too late basically to make a decision. She left for Vegas, ended up buying a dress out there. And she still says to this day, 10 years on, her biggest regret about her wedding is not just buying that sample when she was in Bush with me, because she thinks about that dress all the time and she loves it. And so there's a bit of that as well. Like in that sample sale stuff, I'm like, you will regret this. If you come back later, 4 more appointments are going to have come in and looked at this and it will be gone. Just like really unafraid to just be like, and you always took the piss a little bit. You were like, yeah, Georgia goes in there. She's like, have it now or you lose it. But I was like, it's a sale. No nonsense. Do you know what I mean? Which I think people who are probably like yourself and the other girls and Ben in the shop are probably have a little bit more boundaries from being in that luxury retail space all day, every day. And it's like, these are the things you definitely don't say to customers. Whereas like I've worked in House of Fraser and Office and all this shit. And I'm like, get out or buy.
I think that they're probably a little bit less Danny Dyer about it.
But I also would never have like told somebody they should buy something that they didn't look right in or didn't love either. It was only the ones that would be like, oh, I'm in love with it, but maybe I'll come back later. I'd be like, just buy it. Honestly, you will regret it. Because I've seen that happen, and I'm pretty sure that Mum has seen that happen with other brides as well. And Leah, I'm sure you have over your years with Bush. It go with your gut is always the thing, I think. So. Yeah.
I also, I think that there is that. I have seen people, like if you're stalking someone just a tiny bit and you're like, you look and see what they like ended up choosing. I've done this a couple of times actually with a couple of girls that have come in that were at school with Georgia and they didn't end up getting a dress from us. And I've looked at what they did get and you're like, okay. I didn't think that was what you were, do you know what I mean? It's like, you just like, I think what I'm always looking for is extraordinary. And I also have to like sometimes realize that not everybody wants extraordinary. Sometimes people want safe or like familiar or, reliable. And I think I'm always trying to push a bride to the most interesting iteration of her character. So I perhaps that.
Then I also think like a factor in that is always going to be budget and what you're able to do realistically. And like, I think the saddest thing is a lot of the time, the restrictions from being your most authentic self and your most fabulous due to your class or how much money you've got. Like I was saying earlier, trying to find stuff on the ASOS sale online for a tenner that looks incredible and fabulous is impossible. And I think like that's the great thing about like what the boys have been doing with the Nortier stuff. I'm like, I need a cheaper fabric. I need this. I need to make this work with my budget. Do you know what I mean? And like, I think that's the real issue as well sometimes with luxury fashion and having access to making yourself feel like your most authentic self. I think that's the saddest thing about the fashion industry. Because I'm not particularly a label person. Like, I couldn't give a shit if a bag says Prada on it or Primark. You know, I'm like, if I like the bag, I like the bag. But what I think is sad is just the lack of innovation design in, like, you know, cheaper products. And it doesn't have to be a cheap product, just can be with cheaper material, something that you're able to wear again, you know. And I think that's the tricky thing about it, is a lot of design is gatekept by price.
I think a lot of it might be confidence as well, though. Like, you know, sometimes you might have a vision in your head, you're like, I really want to look like that, but then you might not actually have the confidence to wear it. So, you know, if a bride is like, I love this dress, it's amazing, but she might actually not feel like she's able to wear it because she's too, you know, not cool enough or whatever. So I guess that can also be part of why they might not go for the dress that, you know, that they imagined and that they described to you.
Definitely, but then that's us doing our jobs. Our job is to make, well, my job was, I'm not no longer work for Bush, but to make people feel confident and help them find their way through, you know, what is a plethora of different styles and dresses, and it's overwhelming. I feel like, Mum, the amount of people that come in and just are immediately overwhelmed, right, in the shop, they're like, oh my God, I don't know where to start.
They're overwhelmed before they get there, definitely, sometimes,
Yeah, so I think that's like, you know, and also actually choose people you like for your bridal party. That was one thing I could never believe when I worked at Bush. I'd be like, why have you brought this absolute bitch with you that's telling you you're fat and you shouldn't wear this, and comparing everything to her own wedding? I'd just be stood there like, I'm about to deck this person. Honestly, it's making my blood boil. I don't know how you're still sitting here with this woman. It's absolute nightmare. If you choose a bridal party full of your friends you actually like, and people that are going to uplift you and be honest with you in the right way, constructively, then you're going to have a much easier time feeling incredible and loving your dress and your body in it. Christ. Honestly, it's not worth it. The politics of weddings is not worth ruining your own happiness. Like, let's all just leave that now. Let's all say together, I will not allow space for dickheads in my wedding. Terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine, literally. I feel like, though, if should the glorious day come when somebody does put a ring on it, Pixie, I just feel like I would quite like, the people were like, well, what would you wear as mother of the bride? I was like, well, I'm going to try and outdress my daughter for a start, which is going to be hard. It's just going to be like...
Keep that up, you'll be in a burlap sack, Mum.
It's going to be a sort of like wedding apparel Lola Perusa or something, isn't it? It's going to be like, I'm just going to be like, main stage, a reveal, another reveal.
I actually think I will just do a music festival for my wedding, so there won't actually be any dress code at all. It'll be fine.
I was trying to find footage like to put out on social media this morning, and and I didn't know what would have approval or not approval, but talking to festivals, I found the footage of you and me at Busted in the pouring rain last summer, like doing the house. Why go to school for?
Honestly, pure euphoria. We were late to this festival, Leah. We were running from Mum's house. Obviously, we got, you know, distracted by the Prosecco in the fridge. So we were like, oh shit, we really need to go. And we're getting the queue, and I can hear Sleeping with the Light On by Busted playing somewhere. I'm like, get us in. I literally was like almost bribing people in front to let us skip past them. I'm like, I need to be inside now. We got to this stage, and it was shitting down with rain. It was raining so heavily. And the boys were like, oh, screw this, we're going to go get a pint. And me and Mum were literally drenched. There was mascara going all down my face 5 minutes after arriving. Pure euphoria. What a band. Seems brilliant.
But like, these are the sort of tracks that we were playing when you had little parties. Do you know, when you were either 5 or something? They must got to be 20 plus years old.
Yeah. Back when people used to
I took Felix to his first concert last year, and it was McFly, and it was amazing. It was so good.
That's so jokes, yeah. Brilliant.
I don't know who's going to be playing there this year. But yes, hopefully, Georgia, at some point we'll get you in a festival so I can go somewhere with good toilets. That's all I'm ever after. Is
next summer. The team is saying next summer, so you've got one more summer to
of bad toilets.
And then, yeah. Well, because honestly, apart from anything, I can't deal with it anymore. And also, I think there is like a bit, once you start playing festivals as an artist and getting driven around on a buggy and having like an actual toilet block with showers and hand towels, it's really hard to go back. It's really hard to go back. Like, you're in there, you're going, well, why have I got a queue for the toilet? I need a wee. Surely I can just go. It's like, you almost forget what it's like to be a punter. Although, having said that, I could never really afford to go to festivals. I think I went to one ever. I went to Reading when I was like 16 and saved up from my House of Fraser job for months to be able to go. And that was the only festival I think I really went to. So I do actually only really know festivals from the backstage of things. But yeah, now we go to a few, and I'm always.
I've never been to a festival.
Have you not?
Just
Leah, we're gonna have to get you down to one next year. Perfect timing.
I did think about Victorious this year because Nelly Furtado is playing.
Oh,
and
she's
Felix
so good.
loves Nelly Furtado. So
What a
thinking
legend!
I
Really?
know, bring him down. He loves Maneater.
Oh my god, that is a dream. To be fair,
Mm,
always got good taste.
yes.
Yeah, but you can always come down and stay at ours. You can do a day ticket. It's fine if you just want to see Nelly Furtado. I'm going to pace myself this year if Georgia's not coming. I literally, I completely missed Biffy Clyro because Georgia and I completely overdid it, and I felt too ill to stay on the Sunday night. I literally
So gutted. I was literally laying in bed at yours, listening to Many of Horror. I could hear it just echoing across the way. I was like, oh my god, that sounds so good. I was so sad.
It was very cold though. I don't really like the cold bit about festivals and sitting around. We had got fun time, but yeah. So we'll see if we'll do it this year. Anyway, I feel like we've got. I did promise fashion, didn't I? We've literally
yeah,
we have. Leah was like, right, let me look at my list of questions that I put about wedding dresses, bridal fashion.
And I feel like we've actually covered all of your questions already, though. That's the thing. I'm just going to let them carry on.
I know. I feel like I was going to give maybe Georgia the same questions as I gave Marshy last week a little bit, which was like, have you, has that kind of matriarchal bridal family business, how do you think it actually shaped you? What was good about that and what was bad about it? Marshy was like, because a family business is quite all consuming, isn't it? And now you're sort of putting Matt through the same thing almost.
Yeah, I would no, I wouldn't say Matt's going through the same thing. He's just like, I just vent to him. He doesn't ever come into the proverbial shop and do anything, but I mean, look, it was a great thing. It was a great security net for our family to have. You know, the fact that I was able to pick up and put down a Saturday job there whenever I needed to was great. And you know, similarly, my brothers have done bits, and Marshy does bits, so it's great in that respect. I think probably as a woman, it's a complex thing to grow up with. I think that I think as a woman, there's a complexity to growing up in and around the fashion industry, whether it be bridal or, you know, anything else. In that, just you think more about dress sizes and just, you know, kind of like what you look like, basically, and also that, like, constantly seeing people get married and kind of having, you know, it didn't really happen to me, but like the potential to drill into you that like you should have this kind of traditional future and you should want to get married and that's your aspiration. You're constantly surrounded by women who are, you know, it's the center of their life at that point when you meet them. It's like, you know, everything's about weddings, and I think there are challenges with that. And I think, like, you know, coming through my 20s has been very much like a process of learning and understanding my aesthetic and my most authentic style and dressing for my shape. And that was not a thing, you know, it just wasn't a thing 10, 15 years ago in bridal or anywhere else. I think we have got a lot better at pattern design and creating things for women of different shapes. But I think across my teenage years, being around the fashion industry so much when it was, you know, a Jenny Packham or something else that was silk and figure hugging and all these really slender kind of wealthy women would come in and mill about in these beautiful dresses, and they all look like princesses, and I never looked like them. So I think that that's like that was something that was, you know, challenging with it. But then there are other really amazing things about it, like understanding the fashion industry and being able to actually harness it and utilize the things you have learned and into developing like your personal style and your own brand. So I think the fashion industry and bridal as well is for the thick-skinned, and I think it's something that you should never
But like
take.
music.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's something that is dangerous to take at face value or through anybody else's opinions. I think it's something you have to listen to, push back away, and make your own decisions about. And I think that's how I've sort of turning 30 has honestly been such a revelation. I'm like, I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks. I just want to be myself. But there is that real journey through your 20s of like, you know, what should I be wearing? How should I look for this? What should my wedding dress look like? What's going to make my mother-in-law happy? Fuck that, honestly. It is so liberating to just be like, I am not a part of whatever that is. I'm just going to do that, but my own way. Yes, that was a long-winded answer to what's it been like growing up in the orbit of a matriarchal business. I would say that's, you know, but in terms of like my mum and having like a business owner and an entrepreneur like raising me, incredible. I mean, I wouldn't be where I am now. Look at me now. Great. Bagging music deals left, right and centre. Fantastic. But that, I think that resilience and that like actual audacity to step out into the world as a woman and say, this is what I am, who I am, and take it or leave it. I think it's really brave. And that bravery is something I definitely wouldn't have without growing up around the business and everything that it came with.
I would say I mean, I do think I think that brave. Also, it has been really useful. Like, obviously, I don't know if everybody knows that the music at the beginning and the end of this podcast is yours as well. So I think it's also been really like helpful for me. I'm like, you're a bit broke. You say, write me some music for something then. So it is literally, it's really fantastic for us to have like original music, but it's also really nice for me to be like, right, probably don't need to come and work in the shop now. And also, I've done a bit of the old momagering as well, haven't I? The old, is this what you do? You put music on Love Island?
I was going to mention that as well. Yeah. I was going to say, I remember when you were on Love Island, because it was a bride, wasn't it, that worked? That would work Love Island.
Yeah. It was
Leah.
What's his name? It was somebody's fiance, and the guy that she was marrying was the music curator, head of music curation for ITV at the time. No longer is, but and he's lovely actually. We've got a good relationship now, but that's the thing, you know, like none of us grew up with any sort of industry connections or anything. Like we are like, you know, women who show our teeth. You have to really claw your way into these industries. No one is going to open the door for you. And I think that is true for music, and it's true for fashion, it's true for bridal, and it's true for anything. Any woman listening to this podcast knows that, you know, the resilient succeed. So yeah.
I know, and it is that sort of thing of like just having to put like I feel I've been not exactly taking the mick out of Georgia. She wrote this song which I've called which is it doesn't have a go at me, but it just documents our like we had quite a combative like relationship because, you know, it's 2 alpha females in one house. It's quite hard.
Yeah, a lot went down.
Yeah, a lot went down.
Not an easy kind of decade, really.
No, we had there was lots of challenges all around for all sorts of people. But I think that resilience is if you look in the rearview mirror and think, oh my God, we survived that. You know, wow. It's like, if you survive that, most things are survivable. You know,
exactly. And also, I think that like you also, when you are surrounded by people who are going through, like, you know, we have the trajectory of the like trauma in those kind of 10 years from my age of kind of 10 to 20 really. I think when you experience a childhood like that as well, and especially like your kind of formative years, your teenage years, and for you as well, Mum, like raising somebody through those years, through all of that trauma, I think your ability to have empathy for situations expands massively. And I think it just, you just be kind to women, man. I can't, like, honestly, these days, the thing that pisses me off the most and most regularly is women in my industry being fucking cunts to other women. And I'm sorry for the C word, but like, I'm like, life is on, everybody else wants to tread you down. You never know what's going to happen. Tomorrow you could face death and loss, all this horrible shit. And it's like, I think that like, the positive that comes out of all of that is this immense sense of empathy for other women and patience with people, and around trauma. And like, I've become the person in my friendship group that everybody calls, or like, you know, whenever someone's having a panic attack or their boyfriend's left them, there's always a phone call coming in. And like, you just have to, you know, I think it's the most important thing. So whilst there was a lot of healing to do in my 20s, I also know that, you know, having that difficult time has made me a really gracious and empathetic person. So I think there's positives and negatives.
I think that's really borne out. You've like really got like a solid group of friends as well, so who are amazing women as well.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to going to a wedding with some of them.
I know, we've got a couple of weddings now. My first mates are engaged. So my best mate that I grew up with, that mum's actually known since we were babies, is engaged and getting married in Portugal in September. And
on my birthday.
On your birthday, yeah. And my other best mate, who now lives with her girlfriend, who's a prison warden, and is literally the best person I've ever met. They've just got engaged, and I'm so excited for that wedding because they're going to go totally non-traditional. I think they've found their venue now. It's like in a forest somewhere. It's all going to be very witchy. I'm very excited for that. I think it's going to be great.
Is there any dresses going to be worn? Have I got a shoe in with those?
I think we're thinking, she's told me she likes the idea of a pantsuit, potentially. Like a jumpsuit thing. I think it could probably, I don't know, I'm just excited. I can't wait to see the whole thing unfold. Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. One to look out for on the Bush blog, I'm sure.
I know it is quite hard. We have dressed loads and loads of like same-sex couples, but we've said before that like quite often people don't share the photos with us, and that's the, you know, I guess the other thing, like, which really speaks to Georgia as well, you know, like having to constantly produce content. It's not enough to produce music. You've got to try and get a hit on TikTok. You've got to try and continue to have content all of the time, you know, in a world where you've got like Gaga producing those looks for Coachella. You're like, you know, your content as a female musician, you can't just like shimmy onto stage like Ed Sheeran and look like a sort of, you know, farmer.
Which honestly is outrageous. You should be able to do that at this point in time, but like, you just can't. You have to set yourself up. But this doesn't just apply to music. It applies to everything, everywhere, still, for women. Do you know what I mean? We have to look fiercer, fight harder, do everything bigger to even make a drop in the water. So I think like it's applicable to so many things.
You keep posting things on TikTok that I think should go viral, and then they're just not, and it's really annoying. It's annoying.
I know, even the algorithm.
Like the Doechii thing that you posted, the Doechii cover of Anxiety. Was it Anxiety that you did?
Yeah.
It was so good, and I was just like, why has this not gone viral?
Thanks, babes. Yeah, we'll get there. I think now though, with like, I was talking to the label the other day, there's such an oversaturation now of content, especially from the creative industries, trying to go viral, trying to break through that algorithmic thing. It's just oversaturated. So you now are competing with people posting videos that look organic, look like they're trying to go viral on their own, but actually have a stealthy $5,000 from a major label behind them to overtake everybody else that's posting. So there isn't really an authentic way to win anymore on these apps, because once they've existed for a year or two, the content amount is so heavy. You have to physically pay for advertising to break through everything. Just the amount of noise on there. It would be like trying to speak and be listened to in a giant crowd without a megaphone. Do you know, like, you have to put something behind it now.
And the algorithm is broken as well on TikTok since it went down.
Yeah.
Like it just completely messed it up. It's really messed up on there.
Did you download Red Note for all of 5 minutes, then delete it? Because I did.
No, I didn't. I couldn't be bothered. I was just like, fuck it.
I just literally, I was like, oh, it's back. All right, delete. Really put a lot of effort into that.
Yeah, I just think it's like, but we've had, like, we've said this before though, like creating content for us, Leah and I, it's like a full-time job, and that's not actually our job, but we have to,
No one's paying you for it.
well, sort of they are, but nobody.
She's paying me.
I pay Leah for it.
No one's paying me for it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. And it but the thought that we give into it, and also I guess the thing that I've got is a bit like sometimes, Georgia, when you've been underpaid for a track that you've done and you weren't in the room while something was being negotiated. So effectively, your work and your skill is being under. I've never been paid for any of my thoughts. Like everything I've written, everything I've said, everything I know that goes into people's training because they show it to people in their shops and train based on what I've said. It's like I've never been paid. Nobody's ever paid me to mentor them or anything. So it's like it's still giving a lot of yourself, a lot of your intellectual self, intellect such that it is, to the internet for free.
Well, even this podcast, like this like episode 31 now of your thoughts, basically, for free.
Yeah. Although I did you see someone actually emailed us and said they would quite like to maybe sponsor the podcast or something?
Really?
Yeah.
That's when you start getting paid for your thoughts. Yeah, you need enough listeners to get ads in here.
Yeah, if you could just get like really famous quite quickly and people come and find this episode, Pixie, that would be really helpful. Then they could come back. No, literally, I was like, this is not really, when you like think about how you might spend a Euro Millions win, I feel like that's it. Like this is not a plan. Do you know what I mean? Like hoping this is not a plan. So that's why I don't buy Euro Millions tickets. But do you know what I mean? It's like thinking, oh, like somebody like might hear Georgia on it, come back, find our podcast blows up, and then we can become the rest is bridal. That would be the thing, and I can be Marina Hyde. I like the way I'm putting myself as Marina Hyde.
I know. We have been like dropping so many hints to get one of those Gold Hanger podcasts.
But yes. Oh.
Okay, well, we are at 43 minutes now, so I think we've filled the episode quite well.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting. Also, I think it will sound like I'm having a conversation with myself. And I love that. Are you going to bleep, or are we just going to put like?
I'm going to put the explicit content thingy on it. I'm going to have to. There's too many.
No, I did drop a C-bomb and a couple of Fs and some
I think
shit.
this is our first C-bomb, definitely.
Yeah, I've been quite good.
Sometimes that word is necessary. That's all I'm going to say. Sometimes, honestly, people's behaviour is only worthy of the C word. Like, honestly, women listening to this, stop trashing other women. We all have it hard. We all go home at the end of the day and feel just as bad about ourselves. We don't need to help each other feel bad. It's really, really uninspired.
Yes. I mean, that is very much the central message to what I do at work now, which I think has evolved over the 30 years I've been there. It has evolved. I think as you two are like my work daughter and my biological daughter, it's evolved with my relationships with you as you've become adult. And I see you people like, in your 20s and 30s and think, I do not want my children, my daughters, to feel like this. So it stops. Whereas I think arguably, not even arguably, definitely, my mum was a massive body fascist. Classically that famous like line, well, she didn't marry a fat lass. Just like, it's like, did he not?
Terrible.
No. So, I think she was, she was brought up in that like era where your worth was like tied up with whatever. And she was the person that was always on strange diets and Cambridge shakes and weirdness. Do you know what I mean? So there was definitely a correlation. So I think it's taken a lot of like, well, what is that really tedious thing that people say that your children become your teachers? But it is true. You're like, right. And that's how I've learned more stuff about my own mental health by dealing with my kids' mental health challenges. I've learned so much from my work and biological daughter that I bring back into the job now, which makes Bush a very different place than it was like 30 years ago, which is good.
So different. It's like family now when you go in there. You're just immediately part of the Bush fam.
Yeah,
Still
absolutely.
funny that it's called Miss Bush.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have a giant lady garden, like, you know, as your kind of like unspoken.
I do always think with the flowers around the arch, it is almost like you're entering a womb in there.
I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever goes to the shop next, just make sure you caress the knob on the way in.
I know, I feel like it would be the light
The
somewhere.
light,
It's like,
yeah.
I found it. The hardest button to button.
Oh my god.
Oh, I
Brilliant.
literally actually can't even deal with the fact now I think the light above the door is a clitoris. Okay,
Well,
yeah.
next time I
welcome
paint
to
the chapel, I'm going to just paint it with like folds around the doorway.
It's like one of those Georgia O'Keeffe pictures, you know.
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
sort of-
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah.
Okay, right. On that
bombshell.
note, yeah.
Welcome to my vagina.
We love to leave you with some genitalia talk. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on, Georgia.
You are so welcome, my darling.
Yes. Okay, and I will see you next Monday, Emma.
Yes, well, Georgia might be here next Monday. I think she's coming for Easter, so yeah, you might get.
I am actually, yeah.
You might get this
I will
again.
Double helping.
Maybe I'll just pop up in the background at some point.
Amazing. Okay, goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
You'd like to know, wouldn't you?